Welcome everybody back. I'm Frosted Fricks, and today we're going to be discussing a topic that I found very interesting. So let's just get straight into it. So some of you may know a little situation that's been going on, and that is the allegation surrounding a Mr. Vic Mignogna, a voice actor most famously known for his role as Edward Elric in the popular anime called Fullmetal Alchemist. Well, late last month, early this month, he was accused of allegedly handling co-workers and congoers very inappropriately in what some would deem almost sexual. Because of this, Vic has lost his job at Funimation and Rooster Teeth over these accusations. Due to the lack of evidence, however, from both sides, I cannot weigh in on the allegation yet, and I will remain to keep my opinion to myself until further evidence is presented. So today, I am not going to talk about that, but it does weigh heavily on the topic we are discussing. Today we talk about another voice actor by the name of Samantha Inoue-Harte, most known for her voicing the Chocobo in Final Fantasy Unlimited and Korin Lee in Sakura Wars. Recently, she posted a Facebook status stating that her house was swatted because of a fake call to the police. She then goes on to say that it was a Vic Mignogna supporter who made the call. A source who goes by the name of Zero Reynolds on Twitter had posted this from her Facebook, which is how I initially found out about this. In several responses to the people questioning the validity of the pictures, he assures them that they are real and that he believes his source, Samantha, and that he trusts the validity of her statements. He even went on to defend her from the naysayers trying to state that he knows how the police operate, and he was very dismissive with any questions around the raid. It seemed every time someone asked for evidence, he would go silent. Well, of course, this is when the internet does its internet thing and starts researching, me included. The weirdest part about these posts is they can't be referenced as she deactivated her account. Even stranger is that there is no police report on the situation in question. The same goes for the media coverage. There's none. There were a couple discrepancies in the photos that give me the impression that the door wasn't kicked in, but someone attempted to. One of which was the broken yet intact frame. The molding around the frame would have been blasted off the wall or at least cut through by the bolt. The fact that the police used battering rams and not their legs. They don't kick in doors. There was glass there to break. Why not do that instead of just kicking in a door? Especially if there's a hostage situation. The shoe print looked awfully muddy, yet I'm really glad someone took the time to clean the floor. Why was the door kicked towards the center? Police are trained to aim for the lock. But hey, what do I know? I'm only a carpenter. But the big thing that was found was the images that were used were in fact real, but they belong to a Facebook post she did 3 years ago on August 19th of 2016, showing the same 3 pictures in question, saying that it was from a police raid because her house was under suspicion of being burglarized. And yes, I do know that sounds weird even now. Well, that's interesting. I was unaware that the hashtag #IStandWithVic supporters had the ability to time travel. Yes, it seems that Miss Hart had recycled images from an old post on her Facebook to push a false narrative to victimize herself and make Vic and his fan base look bad. For what? Internet clout? Does she want attention? What I find more interesting is that she did this while the Vic Mignogna controversy is still hot. But what is there to gain? I know she works with Funimation as well, but I desperately hope that she did not go through all this trouble just to gain clout for a better role. Now, the voice acting community is a very small one, and it makes such a brash accusation is damaging to one's reputation. Why go through this trouble to make someone already in a bad light look even worse? Why lie about it at all? But unfortunately, it's not just that makes me upset about this situation. What's worse is she lied about being swatted. That to me is the worst thing that she did in this situation. People have died from being swatted, and many people's lives have been ruined because of it. This is not something to make light of or lie about. It's almost as bad as lying about contracting a terminal illness or getting in a car crash. And in the online community, getting swatted is one of the worst things that a person can go through. I personally know people who have been swatted, and I do take it very seriously. The simple fact is, I don't know what would compel someone to fabricate a lie to damage the reputation of one individual. Is your narrative that important that you would risk ruining your reputation for it? This could make the accuser potentially lose their job, especially since the reason Funimation got rid of Vic initially was that they don't condone people acting in a manner that could reflect poorly on a company. Now, some of you may have a hard time finding these posts. Why is that? Well, as stated earlier, Ms. Harte deactivated her Facebook, so references outside of the imagery at this point can't be found. Oddly enough, the deactivation occurred around the same time she was called out for this whole situation. This to me is very telling, especially since at least up until the creation of this video, Ms. Harte had not tried to defend herself and has retained social media silence. But despite that, Mr. Zero, the guy who initially posted this on Twitter, stuck to his guns and wanted to stay on the side of the victim and remain her little white knight in shining armor. That was until this morning during the making of this video, where a substantial amount of evidence presented made him backpedal on his statement and finally realize that it's people like Mrs. Harte that delegitimize the actual victims of sexual harassment and bullying. But I feel now that it's a little too late to repent. The grave was already dug. Unfortunately, he forgot a ladder. I myself have always wanted to be a part of the voice acting community, but it scares me with how cannibalistic it's turning out to be. I know not everyone is like this. I do. But when I see well-known VAs attacking each other, utilizing what seems to be a mob mentality and scare tactics to oust an individual, it worries me what could happen to other voice actors I love. What could happen to your average Joe beginner? What could happen to me if I get into the industry? Again, I have to stress I'm not picking sides with the Vic Mignogna situation, but I cannot stand people who lie and push a false narrative. I still personally love doing voice acting, and this won't stop me from pursuing it either. But I know if I'm going to get there, I'm not going to do it at the expense of others. I have been Frosted Fricks. I thank you guys very much for watching, and I thank you very much for following along. If you found this story to be interesting, go ahead and drop a like. Go ahead and leave some comments in the comment section. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be getting a few of these. Thank you guys very much for watching, and thank you very much for following along. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell icon. You guys have been great. You guys have been awesome. And as usual, as always, my friends, stay frosty and keep moving forward.